Hello, and thank you all for coming today. Isn't this a great venue? We love this place. So we're going to mix things up a little bit. Our speaker is delayed a bit, so we're going to move the business part early on in the meeting, and then when he gets here, we'll switch gears and we will start with his presentation. So, with that being said, thank you all for coming. And I wanted to give you a heads up on some changes that we're going to be making to the monthly meeting format. So, Sue had put out a survey last year. Sue does an awesome job of putting all these meetings together, and we appreciate everything she does for us. And you would not believe the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes here. So last year, Sue put out a survey asking, what can we do to improve the monthly meetings? And you all have lots and lots of ideas, but the one that came out, number one on the top of the list, was to keep it on schedule. And people, some were working and coming during their lunch hour, and they needed to be able to come in, get their continuing education credit, and then go back to work. So, and then some were just upset that they would plan something right after the meeting, and the meeting would run long, and they weren't able to participate or relate for that activity. So we're making an effort this year to keep it on schedule. So that was one of the first things that was brought up in the survey. What we're also going to do as part of that effort to keep things on schedule is to make announcements during a rotating slideshow that we're going to be showing before the meeting. So as you're coming in through the door, look up at the screen in front of you, and you should have seen how to sign up for the brainstorming sessions. There was a QR code for the Skip Richter video that you could watch. There were announcements about AT training. So I would encourage you all to come about 10 minutes before the show, before the meeting, and take a look at that rotating slideshow, and we will include that in the minutes that go out. Typically, what we're going to do this year is have the speaker go first. That way, those of you who've come for the continuing education during your lunch hour can listen to the speaker, get your credit, and then if you need to, you can leave early. Sadly, though, our speaker has not arrived yet, but as soon as he gets here, we will switch gears. Also, we're going to change some of the announcements, the recognitions that we're making throughout the year. The outstanding volunteer recognition will be limited to one Master Gardener or one team instead of having, I think we've done up to 4 at a single meeting, so we're going to try to cut the time back doing that. We are also going to recognize innovative ways that we can do public knowledge sharing. For those of you who have attended any of the brainstorming sessions, there's been some fabulous ideas. We've also gotten a few emails about other ideas, so keep them coming. And after the last brainstorming session is over, we'll consolidate everything that we've been provided and get it out to you, as well as the slideshow that we showed at the sessions. Also, during the monthly meetings going forward, we are going to recognize people as they become certified. So when you get your continuing education hours, plus your volunteer hours for public knowledge sharing and the other requirements that need to be filled, your name will be up there on a slide for that month. And we will continue the Share the Love table. If you have any plants, seeds, books, merchandise that you no longer need and would love to share it with your fellow Master Gardeners, bring it on in. It's a give and take table, and we are encouraged that Cynthia Jones has been a fabulous provider of objects and things on the table so far, her seed packets and plants, and we would love to have others participate as well. So we'll come back to Ricky. Come on over. And if you haven't met Sarah Burke yet, Sarah is a new board member, and she is over awards and recognitions. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm on the learning curve of figuring out how to work all this business. So today we're delighted to honor Master Gardener Class of 2020, Kathy Lyon, with the Making a Difference Award. Kathy has been an invaluable member of the R&B1 team. She's worked every aspect of that project. It was noted that Kathy is always willing to do the unglamorous and dirty jobs with a positive attitude and an engaging smile. Kathy's also been instrumental to the success of the winemaking class, which of course is a great example of public knowledge sharing. And since the beginning of that class, she's worked on organization and publicity. Kathy is also that detail-oriented person who has compiled notes and photographs so that the process of the class could be replicated. And Kathy is the one who knows what comes next when it comes to making the wine. And so Kathy, we appreciate you and we applaud you. And yours. So come get your award.
Katerina has a few words that she would like to say.
Well, Happy New Year, friends. First, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for the 42,528 hours you have given us this past year. They translate into $1,329,000. It was the highest level of all the counties in District 4, which encompasses 22 counties in North Texas. No one came even close, so congratulations, Dallas County. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Kind of want to break that down a little bit and just say thank you for each year learning more about the culture and maintenance of many types of ornamental plants, trees, turf, and food crops. Thank you for each year reviewing and getting more and more acquainted with earth-kind principles. Thank you, interns, for spending the time to attend the training, the long training, and to complete the volunteer service requirements. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with people in our community. Extension is an agency dedicated to educating the community. We follow Yoda's advice of always passing on what you have learned. Today, I formally ask you to pass on what you have learned by challenging you to at least share the 6 hours of your time this year, sharing the knowledge you have learned and acquired throughout the years of being a master gardener. So again, it's 6 out of those 30. I acknowledge that for many of you, the explicit requirement of 6 hours of public knowledge sharing is a requirement that you have been meeting every year since you became certified. So the requirement is more to remind us all that our Master Gardener program, more than a gardening program, is an educational program. It is also a reminder for me to do a better job of capturing all the great things that you are doing. With the help of some hardworking Master Gardeners, we are finalizing a record recording system that will be simple to use in the field on your phones, but can also be used on your desktop devices. We hope to have it ready by the next monthly meeting so that we can walk you through it. And we are also simplifying the VMS category, so submitting hours will be easier for us all. I am looking forward to seeing all the great ideas and topics at the end of each month when everything you record arrives at my desk as a monthly report. Get creative, have fun, enjoy meeting new people along the way. The only ask that I have from your public knowledge sharing efforts is that you always keep in mind that, in the back of your mind, that is, our region's overarching needs: conserving water, decreasing the urban heat island effect, increasing the use of natives, and incorporating integrated pest management strategies to protect the health of our soil, the quality of our water, and to protect biodiversity, especially our pollinators. And last but not least, helping more of our community members to learn how to grow their own veggies and fruit. I also want to acknowledge all the hard work that you put into the maintenance of our gardens, because we do need our outdoor classrooms to demonstrate the public that adopting strategies that yield an ecological balance does not mean we won't have beautiful and productive gardens. Again, Happy New Year, and cheers to a wonderful 2024 for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Katerina. I'd also like to really reiterate what Katerina said about the public knowledge sharing that everyone is already doing, and we don't want to underestimate that. We know that you all put a lot of effort and you have a passion for it, and we're going to put some metrics behind that, so now we can show off all that knowledge that you are sharing.
How are y'all doing today? So I'm here to talk about a fun thing, talking about the garden tour for this year. So May is just around, thank you, Glenn. May is just around the corner. And it's, you know, it seems like it's a long ways off, but it's going to be here before we know it. So I want you to remember the date, May 18th of this year. That's the date of the home tour. It's the only, or I'm sorry, the garden tour. It will be one day this year rather than the 2 years of the 2 years ago. But it's an amazing group of gardens that we've selected, and I'm going to kind of give you a teaser of what you're going to see. We will be presenting at each of the monthly meetings up until the garden tour, so that we can kind of give you, information as we go along, and to make sure that you have all the information that you need on the garden tour. Okay, so this is the largest fundraiser, that we have, that the Master Gardeners Association has for this county. And we have the tour every other year, for those of you that are fairly new. This is a biannual tour. So it's just very important that we all, put in as much as we can. We need volunteers for all kinds of things, from publicity to fundraising. I left you all we left a piece of paper on your tables. If you have any sponsorship ideas, anyone you think might want to sponsor, let us know. Or if you want to contact me yourself, just let us know that you're contacting somebody, so we kind of keep a running list of who all we're looking at. But that would be very helpful. So other benefits of the garden tour, of course, is what Katerina was just talking about, is educating the public. A lot of people don't know what all we do. And so this is a great chance for all of us to be out there demonstrating what Master Gardeners do, what all we do in the community, just making awareness of our organization and all the great things that we do in our community. And of course, it's also a great way to meet other Master Gardeners. It's a great way to get all of your hours in. So many, many benefits. So the chairpersons for this year, I do want to make sure that everybody, if y'all will stand up, and just make sure everybody sees. I know everybody probably, a lot of y'all know many of these ladies, but myself, Christy Lawrence, Chris Geyer, and Margaret Horansky are our co-chairs this year of the committee. And we have kind of segmented ourselves into different, we're working on the entire tour, but we've kind of segmented ourselves into different departments. So I'm kind of heading up the subcommittee for the fundraising. Christy is doing publicity. Chris Geyer is doing the gardens and also safety documents, things like that. Margaret is doing all things media, printing, there's a whole slew of things that she's working on with that she's in charge of. So anyway, that is the committee for this year, and you'll be seeing more and more things from us because we're about ready to ramp up all of our publicity. So you'll be seeing more and more things coming out. So where is this year's tour? It's going to be in East Dallas, Old Lake Highlands area. We've got gardens that are near White Rock Lake and in some of the park areas and then up into Old Lake Highlands. The gardens are very close together this year, so there's going to be very little travel time, which is awesome because people will be able to get to all of the gardens to see everything. So that is a really good benefit about where these gardens are. So we've listed out the garden owners, the Master Gardeners that were focusing their gardens. The first one listed is, I don't know if you've been out to the bathhouse, but Janet D. Smith is the kind of the lead master gardener out there that's kind of what created those gardens and then maintained them and enlarged them. And they're absolutely beautiful. It's just an awesome pollinator garden especially. So that bathhouse garden will be on the tour, as well as Jennifer Bowers. I don't know if any of these ladies are here today, but if you are, wave your hand. I haven't seen Jennifer. Nancy Griswold. There's Nancy. She actually has a lot of raised beds, a lot of vegetable gardening, so it's kind of a treat to see what all she has done. And she's also used her alleyway access to add pollinators and fruit trees, which is just a great way to show people what they can do with all of the areas around their yard, you know, in order to add gardens. Vera Gillen, Monica Nagel is also, Vera's over here. And Vera has a really cool she shed, and she also uses her alley space. And she's got vegetables and fruit trees back there too, which is just amazing. It's unused space that she's kind of just taken over and let flourish with nature. And then Monica's garden is a special treat too. She's got terraced areas going down into a swimming pool. She's along a park area and also uses her alleyway to add, and she's added some raised beds and things like that there. Susie Renz's garden is amazing too. Is Susie here? Her garden is by far the largest garden, and she is along a riverfront, and she's got feral bees and all kinds of unique like art structures that she's used within her garden. It's just a very special garden area, front and back. And then we've got Janet D. Smith's is going to be a bonus garden, kind of a drive-by garden that is going to be very special. You'll be able to see the two sides of her house where a lot of her pollinators and flowers are. So that'll be neat. And then the South Pack White Rock Trail Garden, which Maggie Saucedo leads, that will also be one of our bonus gardens. It's out by White Rock Lake. So we're very excited about all those. A few other things. You know, we've got, like I said, the publicity is going to be ramping up, so you're going to see things on the social media, on the Dallas County website, and we actually just had an article that was passed on that was published, thank you, Cynthia, and Christy Lawrence wrote the article, but we have an article that was published actually today on the Dallas County Master Gardener Association website, so make sure you look at that. It's a wonderful article. But you'll be seeing things there as far as the no-go, and I'm saying it wrong. Grow no-go. Yes, that's right. That will be coming out in the next issue. And also various like local publications, things like that. So a lot of publicity will be coming out soon. And here's just a quick little view of a few of the gardens. So just kind of a sneak peek. Like I said, and these were taken in the springtime, probably a little bit earlier than what the garden tour was. And then here's our sponsorship levels. Like I said, we passed out some forms if you have anybody that's interested in sponsoring the tour. This is a great way for us to bring money in other than ticket sales. So if you have any local businesses, garden centers, restaurants, it's amazing how many people really do like to contribute to something like this. But here's all the different levels, everywhere from $2,000 up to, or down to $100. So more information will be coming out as far as how you can, sign up and do things like this. But I do have some forms that you can give to people to fill out if they are interested in sponsorship. I have some of those forms with me, or we can email them out to you also. And so the Sign Up Genius is out there. And there's a link that's been posted out on the website as well as on some of the Mark Your Calendars. But the Sign Up Genius is basically just for all of our preparatory things. So being on a subcommittee, things that have to do with planning the tour. Things like the docent and day of help for the tour, those opportunities will be on Sign Up Genius later in a few months that you'll see those. And I think that's it for now. Like I said, there's much more to come, so stay tuned. Thank you.
And next we have Debbie Wood. So Debbie is our second new board member this year, and Debbie is over outreach. And with all of this effort we have going on creating innovative ways to enhance public knowledge sharing, she's our lady.
So I'm actually here today to ask for your help. So one of the things in getting our knowledge out there into the world is communicating. And so I need your help to do that. So one of the first things that I'm going to try to do is to develop a database of contacts for us to help get the word out with. So I need you guys to brainstorm and think of all the little vehicles you know about that I wouldn't know about and nobody else would know about but you, and send those to me, such as if your neighborhood has a newsletter or your homeowners association has a newsletter, things like that where people are using content, or even if it's a citywide something that I probably don't know about. So send all those to me. I know the garden tour is kind of already working on developing a list, so we'll be sharing with them on this. But the idea is we'll put all those together and use them as a group. So send those to me, your neighborhood and town newsletters, Facebook pages if there's something specific, and especially on the citywide ones. If you have an in with anyone, so you know who's responsible for something, or you have a contact, or it's your cousin's sister-in-law's brother that does it, let me know those things, so that we can kind of get in with some of those. And when you send it to me, if you will send the names of whatever the vehicle is, so it's the Oak Cliff Neighborhood Association, the addresses, and hopefully you have both email and physical, the human contacts, and if you have a relationship with them, so it's your next door neighbor or it's your cousin or whatever, and the part of DFW they cover, because sometimes that won't be obvious. So if it's the Heritage Neighborhood Association, I may not know where that is. So what part of Dallas they cover, and then anything else we need to know. If there's other information you think that would be helpful to me, please include all of that. So you can send it to DallasMGA.com. Okay, take a picture of that. outreach@DallasMGA.com. Okay, and then we'll put all those together, and about once a month, we're going to send them events, and we could be a little bit specialized. So like if you've sent me an Oak Cliff newsletter and there's some a speaker that's going to be in Oak Cliff, we can send it directly to them. We don't necessarily send that to everyone. But we'll certainly be, sending out the big events. But we'll also send them, it's like seasonal articles. So, how to get ready for spring. What are the top 5 things to do to get ready for spring? Fairly brief. We'll maybe even be picking some of those up from things we already do. And getting that information out so people that are looking for content, because I think a lot of the newsletters do, they're out there looking for little things that they can put in that the neighborhood would like to read, and then we'll include information on who we are and how people can get to us. So we'll include links, and then we're going to use this database to help publicize that. So sharing, we all want to share. So, if you're on, Cynthia and Zondra do a great job of the Facebook page. And I know some of you may say, well, I'm really not on Facebook anymore. I decided it's taking up too much of my time. But get on it, at least for this. That's all you got to do is sign on. You don't have to scroll through it if you don't want to. But find the Dallas Master Gardener pages. There's actually 2. One is public and one is just for us. But they're really good. They've got lots and lots of information on there. And we're going to be doing even more. So we're going to make sure that all the events are on there and the speakers are all on there. So we're really trying to even ramp that up a little bit more. So find those pages and then share them. I wasn't doing that. And then it's like, oh, why am I not doing that? So, and you can share it to your feed, which is your friends. That's kind of the term that's in there. If you just hit the little share button, And if anybody has any questions on how to do that, I've got my iPad and I'll be glad to show you. But just hit the share button and then you'll get a choice to do it to your feed. Or the other option is your groups. So like I belong to several other gardening groups, including my little local garden club. Share to those too. So that way, I mean, you just think about it, how much that will magnify our Facebook pages and our Facebook views. I don't know if you've looked, I hadn't until recently, but our Facebook page has 4,000 followers. So a lot of people are seeing it, you know, and it's getting, Cynthia has the data on how many views it's getting, and it's getting a lot. But just think how we're going to magnify that if we share. You know, I mean, you know, if every 200 people share it and you all have 200 friends, think about that, you know, and typically your friends, I mean, it's fun stuff, so it's good stuff to share. It's not like politics or something. It's good stuff. So do that. So the final message is don't be stingy, share. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I would also like to thank the nominating committee. Debbie and Sarah have been awesome additions to the board, and we are so grateful. So thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm going to hold on this, and since our speaker, the scheduled speaker, apparently cannot make it today, I'm putting Janet Smith on the spot here. Janet, we love you. We adore you.
Those of you that have seen me speak know that I'm a PowerPoint lady. And I did not happen to bring a flash drive today. So this is just going to be off the top of my head. And first I want to say how sorry I am that you're not getting to hear Ricky Linux, because he's a speaker that I've known for years, and I've booked him many times to speak at Native Plants and Prairies Day. And I love to go hear him, and I hope that he can reschedule. Because, you know, he's the guy that last year did I think it was the January talk about the color red and how the historical significance of it and how hard it was to create it. So he's a really good speaker, and he knows his plants backwards and forwards and inside out. But, so you're stuck with me today with no PowerPoint. So, with Katerina encouraging us to share our knowledge, something that I received on one of the mailing lists I'm on, a blog from the Humane Gardener, and I got this article last week, and it was about, is your yard underplanted? And underplanted was not a term I had ever heard. Has anybody else heard it? Good for you, Linda. And it basically means if you have not filled your yard with the right plants. And, you know, I have to admit, driving out here from the White Rock area, I came down Coit. And so I'm looking, as I'm driving down, at the northwest corner of every intersection, and every single yard was way underplanted. I mean, my God, talk about ugly, no landscape. That was a great way to see no landscape. I'm hoping it might be a little more interesting on the other side of the street on the way home. But all I could think of was, my God, underplanted. And frankly, turf grass doesn't count. So, and the other thing, you know, you might already know that I'm a big believer in and follower of Doug Tallamy, the Nature's Best Hope guy. And I have always said that I don't grow food. You know, I don't grow edibles in my yard. I'm more ornamentals and pollinators and beneficial native plants. But you know what? I do grow food. It's just not for people. So I think that everything, well, not everything, everybody's entitled to a few of their favorite flowers that they just love to look at, if they're beneficial to nature or not. But everything else in your yard should be food for somebody or something. because it's very important that we support our native ecology. And the way to do that is to have things for them to eat. And I know it's our culture has led us away from that. It's not anybody's fault. Everybody's just going along. And I know as when I became a homeowner and moved into my house, before some of you were born probably, in 1977, to say I am the grandmother of the neighborhood now is putting it mildly. But, you know, I was a career woman. I had mow and blow guys. I had chem lawn. I had whoever tree guy came, you know, and left his card if I needed tree work, that's who I used. I knew nothing. And I can relate to those people because I was one of them. And my yard was a wasteland. My yard faced west. My grass looked terrible. And so when I retired, after I got some work done in my backyard, because we live at the bottom of a hill, and everybody's soil and top dressing ended up in my yard, put my detached garage 6 inches under ground level so that it flooded with every rain. And finally, when I got a landscape architect that could fix that, I was so unknowledgeable about landscaping and plants when we were going over the plan and, you know, so much money for this and that and the other thing, and so many hundreds of dollars to remove the soil from the backyard that had accumulated. I was thinking, you know, live over by White Rock, and the city had just paid big amounts for somebody to accept the silt that was sucked out of White Rock. So I thought that's who we're paying. So thinking I'd save a few $100, I said, why don't you dump it in my front yard and I'll have a little berm. A term I had picked up at my office, otherwise I wouldn't know what a berm was. But you know, it's a little hill. As luck would have it, when the work was supposed to be done, they did 1 day's worth of work, and then we had a week of rain. And I was scheduled out of town, and I went out of town. I came home. There's a stoplight, I'm one house from that corner. I'm sitting over where I can see my yard. There's a 600 square foot, 5 foot tall berm in my front yard, covered in jute. And you can probably imagine what I said to my friend that was in the car with me that had been on the trip, you know. That was my introduction to gardening. And that's what you can drive by and see on the garden tour. And please just drive by, because I'm not going to weed this time. I'm going to be over at the bathhouse getting that ready. And that was one of my things that, yeah, I'll be a drive-by, but I didn't want anybody walking through it, because I've been on garden tours, the Waterwise landscape tour, several times, and that's a lot of work. And frankly, I'm too old to do that at 2 properties. I'm too old to do it at 1, but I'll have help at the bathhouse. But one thing, you look at my front yard, you're not going to think underplanted. You're going to think, oh my God, can't that woman control herself? She's got so many plants, but each one is there for a purpose. And I don't think I do have, I'll admit it, true confession, I do have a couple of hybrid mandinas that don't give flowers or berries, so they don't spread to the wild. And they don't really offer anything for anybody except some interesting color in the winter. But everything else in my yard, somebody's eaten something off it. And I love to go out there and see all the insects, the anoles, the birds, the butterflies. Luckily, in my neighborhood, we don't have bunnies. Somebody said it's because we've got so many coyotes. Maybe that's it, but so far, knock on whatever this stuff is, we don't have any rabbits, so we don't have to worry about anybody eating my plants like that. Although, you know, rabbits need food too. And so I feed critters, mostly insects. And when I got my yard landscaped in the mid-'80s, I always forget about that part of the yard. It's not productive. And it's behind behind the berm, so you don't see it. And it's hollies and mondo grass and 2 crepe myrtles. And I always thought I'd take one out and put a Japanese maple in. But those of you that have been in this group for a long time remember, maybe now it's been 5 years ago, I don't know, but the Japanese maple guy spoke one time, and I was sitting with a group of people in my age group, and we all looked at each other and said, we're too old. We missed our window to plant a Japanese maple because they grow so slowly. So I never took out that crepe myrtle because I knew it was too late for me to plant a Japanese maple, which again would not be a productive plant, but God, they're beautiful. So obviously I'm rambling, but if you haven't read Nature's Best Hope by Doug Tallamy or seen any of his presentations on YouTube, and he was the one of the keynote speakers at the state conference last year, and then last fall, I think it was it Collin County or Denton County? Somebody had him as a speaker, and we got to watch that. So I hope, and he has a lot of stuff out on YouTube. And it's Douglas Tallamy, Tallamy. And that's a good way, you can watch a 30-minute video and get the essence of his program. But he's got this new thing going called Homegrown National Park. Thank you. And it's that if every homeowner would plant half their yard in the right native plants, we could create more habitat than all of the national parks combined. And it's a wonderful program, and the bathhouse is on their map and has a sign indicating we're a part of that program. I haven't done it for my house just out of laziness. But it's a wonderful program and gives you something to think about to make your yard more productive for all living things instead of having a huge expanse of turf grass, which really is as useful to animals as concrete. And we know, those of us that have lived here a long time, and I've lived in the Metroplex since 1960, I don't know if it was paradise, but we sure have paved it and put up a parking lot called highways. So just some food for thought. Grow food for yourself or for the critters. Dare I say, any questions? Yes, Linda.
Janet, one of the other things they said about planting underplanted was that we should use plants for mulch. Use plants for mulch. Use plants for mulch. And you look around the neighborhood and you see bush, and lots of space for the next bush, so everything could grow in. But they're saying, try to fill up all the space with your pollinator plants. And I thought, my gosh, I waste so much money on mulch. I mean, I do try to mulch with my ground up leaves, but I just feel like I got a whole new license to spend money, Janet. I mean, I'm gonna be out there in the spring. I really am. I'm gonna really try to make it tight. And I think that's good. And I don't mean with big bushes that are gonna, be all overgrown. I'm talking small stuff. But that's what pollinator plants are. They die back every year. So anyway, just a thought.
Thank you for that, Linda. Maybe you need to join my 12-step program.
I think I have personally. I haven't let you know, but I have.
One time I was taking advanced training in entomology, and the lady sitting next to me said she never bought a plant until she had the hole dug. And I thought, wow. wow. Wow, how many plants do I buy that never get out of the gallon pot I bought them in, you know? Because I want the plant, but I really don't have a place to put it. And then it roots itself in the ground wherever I stuck the pot, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But speaking of ground covers, last spring we planted frog fruit at the bathhouse. How many of you grow frog fruit? Quite a few. Well, this was my first experience with it, and it was amazing. It spread a lot. And it's in a raised bed with a concrete wall, and that wall's probably about chest high for me. It grew down the wall and 2 feet into the walkway before we trimmed it back. And it was in a bed that had been a problem area and lots of things had died. And I'm like, yeah, we didn't need to mulch it because we've got frog fruit. So it's a great one that it's supposed to be deciduous. And when I went over there last week, it looked pretty sad. And we'll probably be cutting it back next month with the big trim up in February. Yes, a question back there. It's good in shade. Oh, the question was how shade tolerant is it? They kind of say frog fruit in shade, horse herb in sun, you know, for your deciduous ground covers that are natives. And we do have horse herb too, which actually took over another bed, and we decided horse herb's a great plant. It is a great plant. Why are we pulling it out? Just let it be there, and we don't need to do anything for it. Barbara.
I've been trying to convince the Dallas Park Department to use horse herb instead of lawns in the parks because they wouldn't have to mow them.
Yes, Barbara Barbie said she's tried to convince the Parks Department to put in horse herb instead of lawns in their parks so they wouldn't have to mow.
They could even get it free from some of the schools and so much.
And Susan Flanagan says some of the schools have so much of it, they could get a lot for free. Yeah, my yard too. Yeah, it's a great plant. So, you know, all that goes along with what Linda said about your ground covers. They make great mulch. The whole purpose of the mulch is to cover the ground so plants can be mulch. I'll just give a plug while I'm here for 2 things. If you want a real talk tonight, Barbara Goldman over here, one of my classmates in the class of 2005, will be giving a talk on container gardening at the Bathhouse Cultural Center on the east side of White Rock Lake, right off of Buckner Boulevard. That will be at 7. And if you're so inclined, there'll be an art activity afterwards, and those are a lot of fun. So this is part of a series of talks that we've been having at the Bathhouse. And I know there's been a lot of master gardeners attending as well as general public. And then tomorrow, if you want to hear my talk that would be sort of like what Ricky was going to give today, year-round blooms with native perennials, I'll be giving that talk tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the Harry Stone Rec Center in East Dallas on Milmar, right off of Ferguson. If you know where Bryan Adams High School is, it's right across Ferguson from there. Harry Stone Rec Center. And that's a free talk. It's at 11 o'clock, and it's part of a new initiative we're trying with the rec centers. And it's the rec center I go to, and the day I signed up, my butterfly tattoo was visible, or I had on butterfly earrings. Something, you know, I'm always in something butterfly. And the lady in charge of the senior program says, oh, I love your butterfly, whatever form it was in. And I said, yeah, I'm actually a butterfly educator. And she looked at me like, God, I didn't know there was such a thing. And I thought, well, it is kind of a made-up title. But so I started doing talks there. And then she said, could she tell others in her job about the talks? And I said, yeah, but I never have heard of them. But now we have a new agreement with the bathhouse and the parks department, and the bathhouse garden, that is. And we're trying to get more talks in rec centers and see if that's a good place to get to the general public, and it'd all be free and open to the public, so of course everybody could come. So any questions? Monica.
What's your top pollinator plants?
Monica wants to know what's my top pollinator plant. That's like asking your favorite child. One that I've been promoting a lot the last couple of years is white mist flower. It's also known as boneset, and it's a late fall bloomer. Usually blooms too late even for the monarchs in October. Usually blooms in the beginning of November. And unlike the blue mist flower, the white mist flower is a shrub. So it's a woody plant. And it stays evergreen. And when it blooms, it has white flowers that just looks just like the blue mist flower, but they're white. And last year, or I guess the year before now, it was looking like the blooms were going to open for a month, and I'd go out and look, and they're not open. And then one day, somebody was picking me up, and we were going to a nature walk, and so I thought I'll just walk out and look through my garden, and as soon as I opened the door, I could smell the flowers. Now, that might be something you do all the time, but I lost my sense of smell for my 60th birthday. Needless to say, that was probably 15 years before COVID. So it has nothing, I haven't smelled anything much in 17 years now. So for me to smell that flower, that was just like, oh my God. And I ran out to that bush, and it was covered in bees and butterflies. And there were 4 of the same species of butterfly that I had never seen before. And I've seen a lot of butterflies. And I took a picture, and wouldn't you know, my friend was right on time. The one time I would have liked to have lingered, and she's right there at the appointed time. So I just clicked off a few pictures, and when we got in the car, I used iNaturalist to identify it. And it was some kind of purple hair streak. I forget the exact name of it. Might have been, that was a year and a half ago. My memory can't remember all the details without looking it up again. But every day when it's in bloom, I go out and look at it because it is so full of pollinators, and it is so important to provide the pollinators with food in the fall because they need all they can get to survive the winter. Both the butterflies, the bees, the flies, everybody needs food in the fall. So that's been my recent favorite. Any other questions? Okay, did I do 20 minutes? That's what I was asked for.
Jana was Speaker of the Year. Was that last year, the year before? This year. And now we know why. Thank you, Janet. We are so appreciative. Actually, we knew why anyway, but thank you for stepping up in a crunch. How do we mark in VMS today's meeting? Same as you would had it been Ricky, just put down Janet's name. Thank you. Did everybody get that for today's meeting, continuing education credit? You get 1 hour for Janet Smith. Okay, the last number. Yes?
So on that same thing, is there a place on when we do on VMS for public knowledge sharing for those 6 hours? Is there a place to?
There will be. We're working with TIG on that. So if you're doing it now, I believe you have 30 days. Oh, no, you have until the 5th of the following month to get your hours in. So we'll work with TIG to get it available before that.
And thank you all for coming out today. Keep those brainstorming ideas coming. Send us to them.